Hey guys, I want to talk to you real quickly about vocation and calling. Now, I don't know what you think when you hear the word vocation. It's from Latin voca, means to call, and so your vocation is your calling. Some people think of that in terms of like ministry or whatever, but that's not. Ministry could be a calling, but really, what we believe is that God has called each one of us to something in life. Now, if you were like in the Middle Ages, say pre-Protestant Reformation, and you felt that God had a calling on your life, then pretty much the only option that you would do is you would go and become a monk or a nun, right? And because that's how God calls. That's what God calls us to. And one of the things that was really wild when the Reformation happened is that the Reformers had this idea that it's not like if you're going to take Christianity seriously, then you don't have to go become a professional Christian. That the normal person who is following Jesus is the example of what it is that we're, Luther has this amazing line that he uses where I'm pretty sure it's Luther, where he says, basically that God is involved in taking care of the whole world. He's feeding the whole world. And so Luther says, and that means that the lowliest milkmaid is doing God's work. And so that phrase, doing God's work, has become part of our nomenclature, right? And sometimes we use it jokingly, oh, like you're doing the Lord's work, for somebody who's doing, something necessary but distasteful. But I really believe very firmly that all of us are doing kingdom work pretty much all the time. And so you're like, well, I don't work at a church, I'm a med tech at this local place, right? Well, one of God's roles is as the physician, and so if you're doing, you're working at a hospital, like you're doing kingdom work, and you're like, well, I don't work at a hospital, I work at this school. Okay, well, it's teaching kingdom work. I sell real estate, right? I sell insurance. I'm firmly convinced. My view of the kingdom is very broad, I'm firmly convinced that all of us, if we're thinking about it right, all of us are probably involved in kingdom work and making down here look a little more like up there. And so I don't just mean like witnessing to your coworkers, being a missionary in a dark place, although those things are good too. But I think that just the work of our vocation, whatever it is that we're doing for our job, I think that is kingdom work if we do it right. So that's a whole talk for another time. What I want to talk about in the next minute and a half is that besides kingdom work that we are all doing, if we're doing it right, we're doing kingdom work all the time, there is also Great Commission work. And Great Commission work is bringing the gospel to everyone. And those of you that know me or know the books I like to read know that when I think of bringing the gospel to everyone, I mean two things by that, right? One, I mean, I want every man, woman, and child in Cincinnati, the greater Cincinnati area, to hear about Jesus and to be able to respond. I want them to hear in such a way that they can respond. But I also mean the continuing work of driving the gospel deep into our hearts. And so that is, we use the word discipleship very often because I think most of the people, we get used to it meaning like Sunday school or Bible studies or whatever. But that is driving the gospel deep into our hearts so that we can then share it with others is the work of discipleship, of making disciples. And so those of us, if you're on the D team, I really see our job as Great Commission work. Now, there's a lot of people that are doing kingdom work, and that's all great, but you're on this team because you have kind of done something that has made you or me or us say like, no, I want to be thinking about Great Commission work. And so I don't have, there's a million ways that could look, right? But I don't have a specific thing that I want you to sign up for, but I just want you to think today and this week, be thinking about like, what is the Great Commission work that I am doing? What is the work that I'm doing to expand both the kingdom of God and all of its many various ways that it takes on shape, but also specifically like how am I sharing the gospel with my friends, my coworkers, who are Christians and are not Christians, right? And so I was listening to my friend John was telling me this evening about a relationship that he has with a friend at work and how he's been sharing the gospel with this guy. And I'm like, that is Great Commission work. And Great Commission work is not the job of the preacher or the church. The job of the preacher or the church is to equip God's people to do Great Commission work. And so this is this thing that we're leaning hard into. We're just really learning how to do. David's a great preacher, and he preached great this week. But really, if your idea of Great Commission work is like we're going to sit and watch David do the work, then you haven't heard what it is that he's saying, because all of us are involved in doing Great Commission work. So that's it. This video is long enough. I'll see you guys next week. Talk to you soon.